Hi, it's John at Crafts by John UK. Today's card you can see is a clean and simple style card. We've got a lovely lighthouse and kind of maritime stamp, lighthouse with a little house next to it on a cliff. And then we've got a simple sentiment top right that says we cannot control the wind, but we can direct the sails. This was a magazine freebie, a set that I'd never used. And I just saw them and thought, I want to do a kind of clean and simple card. No frills, no embellishments, no inked edges, no distress or anything. Just simple design on the page with lots of clear space. So you can see I've created this lovely clean and simple card. If you want to see how I do it, stay tuned. Hi, it's John. Let's get started. So I've got here a piece of 7x5 cardstock. This is a watercolour card from Art that I buy in a pack, which is this, which I think is absolutely brilliant. It's $15.95 for 50 sheets, 300 GSM, so it's a really good heavy cardstock and can take a lot of water, which is good. We're not going to do lots of water on it today, but we want something that will take a little bit. The stamp set I'm going to use is actually a freebie I got in a magazine set. It's all themed around the ocean, so you've got anchors, you've got tall boats, and then you've got this nice lighthouse stamp, which I quite like the look of, and I thought would look nice on a kind of clean and simple card. So my idea is lighthouse in the corner and this simple sentiment which says we cannot control the wind but we can direct the sails. I'm thinking literally just those two elements on the card. So I'll stamp it. I'm probably going to stamp it in blue ink because obviously that's nautical. Then I'll colour in the lighthouse with my Arteza pens, and that's it. I'm not going to do lots of inking around the edges and other stuff because I want this to be a nice, clean and simple card. So first thing I'm going to do, get my stamping platform out. This is set up for clear stamps at the moment, so that's absolutely right. And I'm just going to position this kind of in the corner, tucked away, and then I'm going to put that at the top. So what I always do, I always close my stamping platform down and then I flip the actual piece out just to check out if this is lined up. And see, this is where the lines on the stamping platform come in useful, because you can see whether that's level or not. So just adjusting that slightly. That one I don't need to worry about. I've never stamped that, so I'm just rubbing my hand over it just to make sure that any dust, etc., from the manufacturing process gets removed. Okay, I'm just going to grab my blue ink. And for this, I'm using VersaFine Deep Lagoon, one of the sort of standard inks for stamping. And I'm just going to run over this with a anti-static pad just to make sure there's no oils or anything on my paper. So that's always useful to do. That a quick blow. Right, I think we're ready to stamp. So super simple, super quick. I'm just going to go in with my blue ink and I'm kind of moving the pad around just to make sure I get good coverage if I've got any spots that have been overused. And the advantage obviously of doing it on the stamping platform is if I need to, I can go back for a second impression and it'll be in exactly the same place. Give that a moment, let the ink actually work its way into the pores of the paper. While that's just settling, I've got my clear emboss powder here in a tub ready. Because we're colouring it in, I'm going to emboss it in clear powder and heat set it so that I've got a good nice border to colour to. There we go. You can see that's stamped really nicely. Okay, straight away I'm going to go in with my powder, just actually dip the whole thing and then tap it off. Okay, we'll just heat that in a second. First things first, we'll clean our stamp. Ooh, actually, I've just noticed there's a little bit that's missed, so I could probably just give it another dunk actually. Right, that looks better. I'm just going to give my stamp a little clean, just with a basic damp cloth. We don't use wipes because they're not good for the planet, and also they leave a lot of loose fibres on your stamps, which over time impairs the detail, stops them working as well. Okay, so that's clean. Put that away in a second. Right, I've got my heat gun here. Apologies for the noise. And I'm just now going to heat set that. It's going to be a really simple stamp, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to colour the lighthouse in red and white just to give it a bit of a focal point. Obviously a little bit of brown, and I'm not even going to do anything to kind of suggest the sea or anything. I just want to leave it really simple. Okay, now I'm heating. You'll notice I'm lifting the paper away from the table. It's always better to do that because the heat can then pass through the paper. Not only does it set the embossed powder faster, it also stops your paper curling up too badly. You heat with it flat on the paper, with the flat paper on the table, you'll notice that your cardstock will curl up terribly. Obviously if you heat it from the other side, it does then turn it back, but it's better to do this on a slight angle. You can see the magic that's all setting really nicely. And then always go in on the back as well, just in case you've missed anything. There we go. So we have our image, and that's all nicely embossed, ready to go. I'm imagining probably a blue border just on a basic white card. So that's quite a nice looking image, I think. This is a free set, as I said. I've never actually used it, so it's nice to use it and get some value from it. Okay, so we've got our card. Now we need our pens. I'm going to use my Arteza watercolour pens. This is a set that I bought a long while ago. I think it's 96 pens, so 3, 6, 9, 12. Yeah, so it's 96 pens. Some of them are getting a little bit drained, I have to say. I probably need to replace them, but I'm absolutely loving these. And also you get a really nice water pen with it as well. I have got a set of 3 water pens that I bought separately, but I'm actually still using the basic Arteza one that I got with the set. So I want a nice bright red that I'm going to use for the lighthouse. This is the red, funnily enough. I'm also going to use probably a sort of slightly bluey grey, probably a little bit in the clouds, and also just to give the white of the lighthouse a little bit of shading. The house and the cliffs we need to colour, so probably a little bit of brown for the cliffs. The house, not too sure actually at the moment. We probably need a bit of green because we've got some lawn, so a bit of green, and then we'll have to just find the others as we go. Now I'm going to grab an acrylic block because we colour some things directly on the card, others we'll put onto the acrylic block and then water them down before we use them. One thing we do need though is a piece of kitchen towel. Always useful to have a piece of kitchen towel next to you when you're working with water, immediately to grab any spills, but also to clean brushes, things like that. So I usually take a piece, I usually rip it into 2 and then rip it into 2 again. So each piece gives me 4 little pieces to work with. So I've got my trusty kitchen towel next to me. Okay, great. Let's get started on this then. So I think I'm probably going to do the dominant colour first. I'm thinking the lighthouse in red with the white stripes. So I'm just going to go in here, and I'm hoping you can see that one. I might actually zoom in a bit on that, just so you can see as I'm actually doing the colouring. So I'm going to go in and just lay some red. And you'll notice where I'm laying the red is where the hatching is on the stamp. It's kind of suggesting to me where the darkness should be. And I'm actually following that on both sides. You'll see I'm putting some red where the hatching is, where the blue is, because that's where it's suggesting to me the darkness is. You'll see why I'm doing this in a second. So I'm just laying that red down, not worrying too much about it at all. And then what I'm going to do is get the water pen. I'm not going to do anything with this. If I squeeze, you'll see it sends water out. I don't want it too wet because all I'm going to do is now pull that colour out. So I'm going to just go over the red and then I'm just going to kind of drag it across. Now you can see what happens then. You get dark red where you've laid the red, and then it fades out as it goes into the middle. And then you end up getting that quite nice sort of distressed but kind of worn look as well. I don't want anything too bright on this card because it's quite a calm kind of card. The message is quite a nice one. You know, we cannot control the wind, but we can direct the sails. It kind of talks about life being stressful and all the things we have to deal in life. So I want quite a nice calm card. And you can see how quick this is as well. I love these pens. They're one of the, I think, fastest way of colouring cards. So that's why I like them. I'm a bit of a ninja card maker. I like to do stuff in a hurry. So I still love my Pro markers, but I'm finding I'm using these more and more. And what we're doing as well, I'm just getting a little bit of texture in there as well. This is a lighthouse, you know, it's going to get buffered by the wind, etc. So I don't want it to be perfectly smooth. So I want it a little bit jagged. What I might do as well is just colour that top bit, just using the residual red that I've got on my brush. Okay, now to clean my brush, I'm literally just going to squeeze it, send some water out, and then just rub it on the kitchen towel. Okay, so that's our red. Straight away, I'm going to go in with the Palmer Grey. So again, I'm going to just lay it down either side on those pieces. And I'm not sure, I mean, this may end up being a bit blue, but that's fine if it is. But I'm thinking I'm just going to work that out like that, just so that it gets a little bit colour, not too much, but it's not left looking kind of anemic white or cream. Now you see there, I accidentally went into the red. So what I can do is just press that down and then go over it again, and that'll pull the red out. That's the good thing about these watercolour pens. If you go outside the line, just dab it, takes it off. It's really good. Now, we need to decide what we're going to do about the clouds, but I think we'll come back to that. So let's have a look. These pieces at the bottom then, this is obviously part of the building, so I'm just going to give that a bit of colour. And I'm going to paint those, just kind of even that out. And we need to decide what colour we're going to do the little house. I mean, a lot of it is quite dark anyway because of the blue. So I think I might just go over the windows and the front with the colour that I've got on my brush, which is this kind of grey. But I think the roof does need to be a different colour. So let's do what kind of colour would we do the roof? Maybe an orange, like a tiled roof. So I'm just taking a basic orange, I'm just dabbing a few blobs down, and then I'm just going to even that out. Could be a bit light, but I quite like it actually. Right, green for the grass. So again, just dot some around and then we'll pull that out. And this is like watercolours basically, but in a very simple way. But you can very quickly create quite an effect and, you know, an effective looking colouring without spending ages. Obviously you can spend longer, get lots of kind of light and shade and texture. Depends what you want to do. There we go. Now this top piece, I think we need probably a little bit grey on there as well, and on here. And if you want a bold colour, you can just colour it directly on. Anything you want to kind of stretch it out, just go over it with the water. Now I'm thinking the clouds, probably again use much that same colour and just go over the dark pieces. Really not taking any care here, you'll notice, at all. Because what I'm going to do is I'm then going to wet my brush, so I'm squeezing it, and I'm just going to dab so that I get a kind of a rough effect around the clouds. And you can see that kind of evens it out. So this is where you don't have to be too precise, which is really good. If you dab, you kind of end up getting block colour. If you've got too much water on there, you can always dab it off. Just take it down a little bit. But it creates quite a nice effect. There we go. And it kind of looks a bit like clouds. pulled the red, so I have to clean that up. There we go. There we go. I think we need some colour on the front here, so I'm probably just going to colour it in that same colour, but I'm going to do it from the actual brush, just to darken that down a bit. There we go, and that wall as well. I'm not sure what colour that should be really. Right, the cliffs, I'm kind of just going to add a little bit of brown, not much, and then I'll just even that out as well. Just to give a bit of colour, a bit of texture, but obviously you've got all the lovely detail that's already in the stamp. It's just to take it away from the blue that we stamped in. Again, you can see we've gone kind of over the edge there a little bit. We can extend out and just do that and then kind of blot it away. And it kind of adds to the overall effect. There we go. So very simple colouring. That's probably as far as I'm going to go with the colouring. I might just go in the clouds a little bit. Just take some of that off. Okay. We're done with the colouring. So pens away. All we need to do now is find some nice blue cardstock to mount it. Okay, found a nice piece of blue cardstock. So what I will do now is I'm going to stick this down. So I'm just using some basic double-sided tape. Just move out again a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So double-sided tape, or you could use glue, whichever you want. I quite like my tape. So I'm just going to put tape all around. I'm going to mount this on the blue paper and then I'll mount it onto a card blank. Okay, I'm going to use my tweezers because I don't have nails. And this I find much quicker. Pull those tapes and then we'll just stick this down and then trim it down to size. I find this is easier. If you trim it before you start, you've then got loads of precise measuring to do. Whereas if you, let me just move that out a little bit more. If you trim it after you've laid it down, slightly easier to control. There you go. So grab your ruler and your scalpel, and I just eyeball this. It goes in the scrap pile, and then what I always do when I cut is I always go over it with my bone folder just to turn down any edges so that we don't have anything sticking up. It does make a difference. And then again, I just turn that over, I put more tape on, get through a lot of double-sided tape, and you make cards. And then this time I'll just pop a little tiny bit in the middle. I've got here a standard 7x5 card blank that I'll just score down the middle. Basically, this is just going to sit on the front. So I'm now just going to peel those tapes off, but this time I'll leave them on. This is the bunny ears technique, and it allows me to just wiggle around and line things up before I actually remove the tape completely and stick it down. It's quite a good way of doing it. Obviously you can do this with glue if you want. Gives you a little bit of wiggle room as well. Okay, so first of all we just lay it down in roughly the right place and then line it up, top, bottom, left and right, press down in the middle and then pull those tapes off. There we go. And then I'm just gonna, again, go over it with my bone folder just to make sure that blue layer is fully stuck down. There we go. There's today's card. So we cannot control the wind, but we can direct the sails. We've got a lovely lighthouse there that's been coloured by hand. I think that looks quite nice. I'm just noticing there's a little bit of blue there. I'm just gonna wet that with my water brush and take it down a little bit. There we go. That's today's card, finished. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, maybe have a look at my other videos on Crafts by John UK and like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.